I'd been working 60-hour weeks as an intern, not getting paid at all, not getting paid a cent. And I remember having a conversation with my mom being like, I don't care if Rihanna comes in the studio tomorrow, I'm not going in. 2 weeks later, we got a call that they wanted to do a Rihanna writing camp at that studio. And I remember thinking I would still really love that day off, man.
Tali, welcome to Meet Me in the Back.
We are in the back, aren't we?
We actually are in the back right now.
It's cute though.
Yeah, the back is always cute.
It is cute.
Right? So you're too humble to flex, so I'm going to flex for you. Tali is a songwriter, an audio engineer, and a vocal producer focused in talent management. Some of the names that she's worked with are Christina Aguilera, Bad Bunny, Doja Cat, Khaled, Wiz Khalifa, and so many more. I am so excited to have you on this podcast. You are also a singer-songwriter in your own right. You're releasing a single, which we will definitely talk about. So welcome to the podcast and thank you for being here.
I'm going to say what everyone says. It's great to be on here. Thank you so much for Thank you so much for having me. I am so uncomfortable with compliments that listening to you say that whole bio, I was like, oh, please bury me. I don't like that. But you know what? My therapist says I need to get more comfortable with owning the things that I've done because it'll help fix my imposter syndrome. It's okay though. We're working on it. That's why we go to therapy.
That's why we go to therapy. We're always a work in progress, you know?
100%.
Yeah. We're going up to that peak development stage.
Yes, we are.
I definitely had an existential crisis stage and then I went to therapy and, I'm on the way to that peak development stage too. So I get it.
I sort of dabble in my existential crisis stage about once every 14 to 16 days, depending on my bank account and my psychiatric processes. So
I love you. I'm so excited to have you on this podcast.
Some people say that I overshare. I just call it honesty, but it is in fact oversharing.
You know what? Honesty, transparency is everything. And that's everything we're going to talk about on this podcast as well.
And you know what? At the risk of oversharing, I really am a very big proponent of honesty and transparency. And I am a proponent of if I fuck up, I'll fuck up big. I'd rather just do it and try it and do it confidently. And you know what? At some point, you're going to mess up. You are going to mess things up. Might as well do it with confidence and a smile on your face and then see what happens afterwards and learn from it. And it's tough for me as well because I take criticism very hard and I am very hard on myself. In entertainment, especially living in Los Angeles, the name of the game is being able to say the right thing to the right people. And you can make or break careers saying the right thing or the wrong thing to the right or the wrong people. And so being able to get comfortable with being out there and being bold, especially as a woman in entertainment, has been a big challenge for me, but also something that I'm really proud of my development in and something that in the people that I work with, I really value in terms of my musical collaborators, the talent that I work with. I really value it when people are able to be teachable, quote unquote, and also to be gentle with people who are around them when they mess up and know that those people are not trying to hurt them. We're all just out here trying to do our best.
Yeah, absolutely. Going off of that, we were having dinner the other night and you get a call from there's going to be a big bleep over my mouth right now. And I obviously can't say the name of this person for legal reasons. Now knowing that you've worked with very high power individuals, do you have any advice on how to speak to these people without coming off as too desperate or fake and how to leverage these relationships with these high power individuals? Yeah, without coming off as fake or desperate?
That's an amazing question because the reality of the situation is if you want to make it in entertainment, you need to know how to pull the strings that you have. And it's something that has come up for me time and time again, where I'll be in a situation and I know that I know someone who could, make X happen in an instant. And I'll have to come face to face with the fact that, like, I'm going to have to figure out a way to ask for a favor and be comfortable with asking for something from this person. And like, one of the pieces of advice that I was given actually by my aunt, who was Nora Jones' talent manager.
Wait, Nora Jones, like, don't know why I didn't come. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. One of the best pieces of advice that I was given is you just have to approach the people around you as if you belong. And that doesn't need to come off cocky. It doesn't need to come off arrogant. It's a sense of inner assurance that you need to carry with you and go into rooms assuming that you have a place there without being too out loud about it. You kind of have to just walk in with a quiet assumption that you're an insider, if that makes sense. And like, that is a sense of confidence that is a quiet confidence, and it takes experience in those situations in particular to like understand how to pull that off and make it seem natural. Because I guarantee you're never going to feel normal walking into a room with a Jay-Z or a Beyonce. You just won't. Like, it's people who you've probably seen on TV, listened to on the radio, listened to during your workouts like your entire life. That's never going to seem normal. So a lot of it is about just doing it and doing it again and doing it again and messing up and realizing what not to do, and then going and doing it again, even when you're scared you're going to mess it up again. Like, it's a reality that like it's never going to be perfect every time. And like, everyone is going to have an opinion about you. Everyone's going to have an opinion about you. So just, do your best when it comes to interacting with different cultures in the music industry. Almost every genre has its own like subculture, and like, you've just got to feel out where you kind of fit in best. And no one actually talks about the fact that like a lot of the time the genre in music that you end up working in is also based on certain cultural aspects of how you grew up and how your life experiences have shaped you to be. Like, I'm never going to be able to work in hardcore hip hop because I'm a white Jewish girly. Like, that's just the way that it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have worked in hip hop and I have been in those situations where like I've been very keenly aware that there's cultural differences. But having said that, like, you learn how to assimilate when it's necessary, but that's not like my default behavior pattern. I'm not like naturally going to fit in a situation like that. Doesn't mean I can't, just that it's not natural for me.
Yeah, for sure. With all of that being said, I know for like myself, I've definitely had imposter syndrome walking into a room being all like, when I worked for Cirque du Soleil, for example, I walked in, I'm like, do I actually like belong? How do I like muster up the courage to be in this room and act like I fit in, even though right now I'm like so scared. Like I'm so afraid. But you have to like get the job done. So
yeah.
So when you walk into these rooms with fucking like Wiz Khalifa and like Bad Bunny and Doja Cat, and you were talking about like walking in like you fit in, how do you manage that with imposter syndrome?
Ooh, oh Lord, you're really asking the real questions, huh?
Oh yeah.
You know what, like, at a certain point, as real as imposter syndrome is, you have to learn how to be able to turn it off. You have to learn how to be able to dissociate from the things that are weighing on you, because like in any work situation, you need to be able to leave your challenges outside the room so that you can do a good job when you walk into the room. Because at the end of the day, I hate to say it this way, but no one fucking cares. No one in that room cares whether you have an upset stomach or somebody in your family passed away or you're struggling with your mental health. Like, no one actually cares. They came into that room to write a song, to make a hit that's going to make them millions of dollars. And if you're not cooperating, first of all, you're not going to get back in that room again. And second of all, you're probably going to have a traumatic experience getting kicked out. So like, you kind of have to learn how to do that compartmentalizing. And it's such a tough answer to give. Like, I hate being so hardline about it because I don't think that anything in life is black and white. But there are a lot of very hard lessons that you need to learn if you want to make it in entertainment. That's probably one of the biggest ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't have it mastered. I do not have that concept mastered because I'm a very emotional person. I don't think you can ever have that concept mastered, but it is just something that, like, I would say I try to target.
With all of that being said, was there ever a moment, because like for instance with me and like my circus career, there's moments where I know I can like hustle, I guess you could say, push through like the pain, both like physical and mental. But there comes a moment, at least for me, where I was all like, you know what? I'm not going to stand for this. Like I need to like take a moment for myself and pause and like back out of this like performance opportunity, like mentally for myself. Has there ever been that moment for you where I feel like when you're working with especially like celebrities and you have to work these crazy like 80-hour sessions, was there ever any moment where you are like, my mental health is more important? Or have you just, were you just like, you know what, like compartmentalize and like get through?
That's a really great question because you have to know your boundaries. And as much as I am a proponent of like compartmentalize so that you can get the job done, you got to know the cost benefit of the situation. Like, it's never worth your mental health. If quote unquote compartmentalizing is going to put your mental health at risk, like, it's not worth it. And I remember having a conversation with my mom actually about 6 months after I moved to LA when I was working at one of the big studios. And I was so tired. I'd been working 60-hour weeks as an intern, not getting paid at all, not getting paid a cent. Like, whoa. And it was, I mean, all for the like end goal of like getting noticed and getting hired, right? You do whatever you can. The finances weren't pretty, but I was really hustling. I was really trying to make it. And I remember having a conversation with my mom being like, I don't fucking care if Rihanna comes in the studio tomorrow. I'm not going in. Like, and that's a very vivid memory for me because 2 weeks later, we got a call that they wanted to do a Rihanna writing camp at that studio. And I remember thinking back on the conversation that I had with my mom when I was coordinating that studio booking, thinking like, I would still really love that day off, man. And I know both of the times that I have left a position within the music industry to go to a different position have been because of my mental health. It's been because I have been put in a situation that I kept telling myself, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to make it work. Like, everything is going to be fine. Like, I will make it work because this is going to invest in my future. And I think, especially in the last time I left something for my mental health, I stayed for 3 months too long because I was just telling myself, like, I'm going to get through it. It's going to be worth it. And it wasn't worth it. And I learned a big lesson, which is that people are always looking out for themselves. And they can promise you as much as they want, and maybe they'll live up to it, and maybe they won't. And whether or not they live up to their promises is a very big reflection on their own character. And whether or not people live up to their promises, it's still up to you on whether or not you want to trust them. And I personally think that being able to trust people is a very human thing to do. And I would not say that I'm the kind of person who's like, I don't trust anyone. You got to approach things cautiously, but I think it's a very hardened way to approach life, to not trust anyone, to not love people, to not enjoy things with your whole heart. I think that it's a shame when people get so traumatized that they don't want to trust anyone anymore. And I do try and like avoid becoming that person despite people hurting me, because at the end of the day, like, we're living in Los Angeles. It's cutthroat. Everyone wants a piece of the pie, and there's only like 2 pies. And there's like a gajillion of us here, so.
Yeah. And what you said is so powerful. Like, it's so easy, especially in LA, to get jaded by other people, whether it's it's like in relationships that are more friendly, I guess you could say, or in like work relationships or in just regular friendships. And to still go through life with like a soft heart despite people screwing you over, it's just a testament to your strength and character. And
Well,
really, like take it in. Like it really is a testament to your character.
I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. And I do think that the one thing that keeps me that way, and this is not always a good thing, is that I feel things hard, and I feel it with all of me. And when I'm upset, you'll know. I will cry if I'm upset. I'm not the kind of person that's like, oh, I'm okay. Like, I'll just keep being nice to people. I'm okay. Like, if I'm not okay, I'm not okay. But if I am okay, I'll be fine. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I go to both ends of the spectrum. Yes, like I believe in trying to have faith in people. I really do. I believe in second chances. But on the flip side, like if you hurt me, I'm going to be really hurt. Like I'm going to be really upset that if I had faith in you and you didn't like have my back, I'm going to be really upset about that. I'm not going to be like, oh, fuck you. Like I'm going to hold a grudge against you. Like it's just kind of like I get hurt when what I put out isn't returned. I don't expect it. I don't do things for the thanks, but I do get hurt when that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the flip side to all of that, who is a celebrity that you loved working with? Can you describe like a session? Yeah.
Immediately. Okay. So I wasn't actually in the session. I was assisting the session. But when I was, I think like 3 months into my internship, I walked in with the other intern to the studio the one day. And there was like 4 security sitting outside like Studio A. And I was like 3 months into the internship, and the intern who was with me was new. And I said to him, like, mark my words, there's someone really big here. He was like, how do you know? I'm like looking at the security like, there's someone big here.
Like yo, bro.
Anyway, so I go to the bathroom and I come out and I like walk in. So here's the studio. I'm walking in front of the studio and there's something on the ground. And I like bend down and pick it up and turn away, like walk into one of the storerooms. And after me, the intern comes like running in, the other intern who was there. And he was like, oh my God, like Zendaya is in the studio. And I was like, okay, there are very few people I feel who I get like the starstruck effect from anymore. But that was a starstruck moment. So we were both like standing in the like storeroom, like freaking out, trying not to like make any noise because she's like in the lounge, like right outside. And we go outside and her dog comes running out of the studio and her dog is so cute. Oh my God. And we were like playing with her dog and she was so nice. And she like came out of the studio and like was sitting like asking us like, oh, how long have you guys been here? Like, how long have you been working at the studio?
You talked to her?
Bro, she is so nice and she smells so good. Oh my God, she smells so good.
Can you describe Zendaya's scent, please?
Bruh. I think it's like orangey.
Okay.
Like, I think I Googled this because I was like, I want to wear her perfume. I think it's Jo Malone and it was like orangey and like vanilla.
So it's like a fruity vanilla.
It was like a spicy, mysterious, like very
spicy.
On brand for her. Also, she's extremely tall. Like Tom Holland can't be that short because she's actually so tall. Like for real.
I also heard that you worked with Miley Cyrus. What was that session like?
A week after I moved to LA. Talk about like Los Angeles initiation. I'd been working at the studio for a week. For context, when I first moved to LA, I had no job. I got here and I was taking a meeting with a studio manager hoping that he would give me an internship. And I went to lunch with the studio manager, which in hindsight, a very not normal thing. Like usually you would just go to an interview, but he took me to lunch, which was quite nice actually. And I vividly remember being so desperate to get a position. I literally said to him, I don't care. I will be your bitch. Bury me in a hole. It's fine. It's fine. And he was like, okay, like, well, we can't pay you. And I was like, oh, doesn't matter. So I go, I'm like working in the studio for like a week. And he said like, oh, we're going to have like a big setup to do tomorrow. And I was like, oh, like who's coming in? And he was like, well, apparently like Miley Cyrus is in town. Fast forward 24 hours. Miley Cyrus is in town.
She is indeed in town.
She is indeed in town. And she is coming to the studio. And we stayed awake for 28 hours straight setting up for her. 55,000 out of 10 would do it again. She is such a nice person. Like, such a nice person. Her team was so nice. But when she came in, it was just after the studio was opening back up after quarantine. So there was very few staff. It was me, one other intern, one assistant engineer, and the studio manager, which if you know anything about big commercial studios in Hollywood, that's a tiny staff, a very small staff. And we had to like flip the rooms and like move the console into another room. And the console is like this huge 48 channel, massive mixing board, like the standard thing that you think of like in a stereotypical like music studio. Yeah. We had so much routing to do, and we had to stay awake for 28 hours to like finish the setup before she got into the studio, because she had booked a session for a certain time and her producers said like, we need this, this, and this, and this. And we were like, okay, well, I guess we got to give it to her. Like, so
she's Miley fucking Cyrus. Like, give her anything she wants.
I remember like one of the assistants who was there when the sessions were actually taking place, she was there for like a week and she booked out the entire studio because she wanted to have it. She booked out all 3 of the studios within the recording studio because she wanted to have it, like she wanted to have privacy. She didn't want to risk anyone else like booking sessions during that same time, which is very fair, honestly. And also it gave her more space to like spread out if her producers wanted to work on something different in a different room. And I remember one of the assistants who was working on the session during that time was like this stereotypical like frat boy, super macho, like really the most stereotypical
frat boy.
I hate to say it that way, but like he was a frat boy.
I'm not gonna lie, that's my type.
Anyway.
Oh, what's his name?
No, Lambda's the frat.
Oh, Lambda. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, and we were like in the office, and she walks past, like, and that was the first day that he'd seen her, and he was like, "Oh my god, that's Hannah Montana! I'll never forget it." It was absolutely iconic. I was like, "Cool, bro. I'll go get you a Bud Light, and you can say that again."
Okay, just a frat boy saying that's Hannah Montana. That's everything.
Listen, you know what? She was a moment. She is a moment.
She's everything.
She has been many moments, okay?
She has gone through so many eras.
Right? It was Hannah Montana, Wrecking Ball.
Yeah.
Something else. And then Flowers.
Yes.
Period. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. She slayed all of her eras too.
She is slaying all of her eras.
Yeah.
She's incredible.
With like grace and beauty. Yeah.
Obsessed with her. Anyway.
Yeah. For sure. So you've obviously worked with some really big name artists like Miley Cyrus, Zendaya, who smells spicy and amazing apparently, like Bad Bunny, Doja Cat. With all of this experience working with celebrities, what do you think about the rise of TikTok stars like Addison Rae and Dixie D'Amelio and how they use their fame to create like their own music career? Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that?
Honestly, I don't really have that much of an opinion on it. Like, power to you. If you have a voice, if you have a team behind you who's going to help you make the music that you want to make, power to you. Honestly, I have Dixie D'Amelio's album on repeat. I think it's great.
Oh!
I think her writers did a great job. I think her vocal performance is amazing. And like, I don't know if you've watched the Hulu series about the D'Amelio family.
I did actually, yeah.
But like, I really enjoyed how they gave insight like into her studio sessions, and she was talking about her writing process. I really like her, actually. Would love to hear another song from Addison Rae. Like, I'm honestly just like here for it. Like, more music, great. I mean, I think if I'm not mistaken, Benny Blanco co-wrote Addison Rae's last song. Hold on, let me check the Spotify.
Yeah, check it. We're not getting that wrong. we're not name dropping things and getting things wrong. Not on this podcast. Nope. We fact check here on this podcast. We drink coffee bean.
We do fact check. Yeah.
And fact check.
Benny Blanco, Blake Slatkin. He's amazing. Madison Love, Leland, Ryan McMahon. Yeah, that's a Blake Slatkin has written a lot of stuff for The Kid Laroi and oh my god, why am I spacing? Anyway,
You're doing fantastic.
amazing songwriting team. Power to them. Like, I don't really have any issue with it. I think that it's just now like another aspect of the music industry that we need to understand exists. It's like AI. I went to a presentation recently at the American Independent Music Publishers Organization. They had like a lunch during Grammys week, and the theme was about AI and how it's influencing songwriting and stuff. And the presenter was saying like, we're not going to get rid of it. We're going to waste our time being angry about it. And at this point, we just need to confront like how we need to handle legislation to make sure that we don't take value away from the actual creatives who are making music and whose careers depend on being able to be creative. That's the gist of it from my perspective, honestly. Like, power to you.
You know what? Going off of AI and everything, I'm a content creator for an advertising agency, and there's a huge talk right now about how and a huge fear over AI where people are starting to believe like, oh, AI is going to take our jobs. Like they're going to take our graphic design careers. They're going to take our like videography careers, our photography careers. Like we're totally fucked. But I actually see it the way that you see it, where AI is more of a tool that we just need to learn how to use, rather than have fear over it. So
I think
really
a key,
interesting.
like, point to that as well, though, is that we need to hold our lawmakers accountable for making sure to protect the people who need to be protected. Yes, it is a tool, absolutely. But what's to stop someone? Have you ever used ChatGPT?
Oh, yeah, totally.
What's to stop someone from putting in a prompt to ChatGPT saying, like, write a song in the style of Taylor Swift, changing one word and calling it their own?
Absolutely.
That's why we have to have legislation protecting like the people who have spent years perfecting a craft. You don't just have talent and write a song. That's like a huge misconception in the creative industry, especially in music. You don't just have a voice and become successful. Like, sure, people who have an amazing voice, who are born with an amazing voice, have maybe a bit of a leg up, but like, success in music is as much about creativity and inspiration as it is about discipline. And being able to understand you've still got to put in your 10,000 hours to be able to write a great song. Like, maybe people get lucky. Sure, luck happens all the time. Luck is part of it. But you also create your own luck. You manifest your own luck. And if you're putting in that time and you're putting in that discipline and you're willing to learn even after you've had success, that's how your success sustains.
1,000%. So for me, I started circus at 21 years old, and I literally couldn't like do a pull up or like climb or do anything. And the reason why I think I got so far so quickly is because I made sure like if I'm starting late, I'm going to put my 10,000 hours as quickly as possible. And there's no escaping that. Like if you want to have like a long-term career in anything, I believe that there is that discipline that you have to have where you put in time to your craft. And that's, and you can have like a viral moment or like a viral song or a viral, I don't know, art piece go off. But if you don't put in the time to hone your craft, and it's not sustainable, if that makes sense. Like to have a long career is different than just like a blip, like a viral moment, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. And especially being involved in talent management, that's very clear to me more and more. I mean, it's one thing being able to, like you said, go viral, but one viral video isn't going to put food on the table for the rest of your life. Like, it's totally up to you what you do with that platform. And that's why I say, like, Dixie D'Amelio making music, good for her. I honestly think that her team is a powerhouse. They have got their shit together, man. Like, Addison Rae making music, good for her. Like, she is putting in that time. She's putting in the work to have returns. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think that just because things in the creative industry are happening non-traditionally because of TikTok, that doesn't give us an excuse to be grumpy about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is me getting a little bit nerdy now, but before we had stereo audio, you know how like when you listen to music in the car, there's 2 separate speakers. That's called the stereo field. And that means that there is slightly different signal or sound coming out of each speaker. And before we had that, we only had 1 speaker. It would only come out of 1 speaker. And that means that all of the signal, all of the sound was coming out of one. And when stereo was invented or discovered, a lot of the people in audio engineering were very against it. They were like, this is a gimmick. This is like not going to last. And now the same thing is happening with Atmos, with surround sound. People are like, oh, like it's not really a thing. Like there's no reason that I need to learn it. Reality is, once the big corporations have invested in it, you better learn that shit because it's here to stay. Netflix has invested in it. Apple has invested in it. You're going to need to know what you're doing. And like, that's just an example that I suppose illustrates how at some point we've got to accept that what's here to stay is here to stay. We live in a capitalist society, and where the money is, the power is. So we got to just know where the money is so that we can work the system and not try and escape it.
Also, that was just like a really great metaphor for the point that you were trying to make. Like, holy shit, like the way you articulate things is amazing. I just needed to throw some kudos to you. Are there any underrated artists that you think should blow up that deserve attention?
Ah, bitch, you came to the right place to ask this question. Okay. Sophia, Sofija. She is like R&B, pop, incredible vocalist, like actually one of the most incredible vocalists. She put out a song recently called Sleepovers that I'm absolutely living for. The lyrics are incredible, just like so empowering. The hook line is like, I don't like sleepovers or seeing someone in the morning. And it like kind of centers around the concept of like, I would rather just like be with myself. Like I am a bad bitch. And I was mixing that song. Like I remember mixing the song and like sending her the first draft of the mix. And she was like, oh my God, this is amazing. We were both just like freaking out, like getting so excited for the release. And I sent it to my cousin who was going through like kind of a breakup at the time. And she listened to it and she started like crying. We were like sitting in the car.
Oh.
And she was listening to it on her phone because I'd like texted to her. And she started like tearing up. I was like, are you okay? She was like, yeah, I just feel like she said something that like I wanted to say, but I didn't know how to say. It was like really adorable. And then Jenny Baker, I promise you she's the next Taylor Swift. Like her fan base is just like incredible, kind of like a cult following almost. She is one of the most incredible storytellers in music right now. She just put out an EP called The Day You're Gone that was written about a breakup that she went through like a while ago. And the concept centered around one of the songs, which is called The Day You're Gone. And the lyric that sort of leads the whole concept is like, the day I stop writing these songs is the day you're gone. So when she put out the EP, that's the day she stopped writing the song. So that's the day he's gone. Type of thing. Yeah, no, it's incredible. Like those are 2, you're missing out. If you're not listening to either of those girls, you're missing out. And then Marissa Mino, she's got one song called Love Sucks that I'm absolutely obsessed with. This girl Zeina, Zeina, she's also like R&B. She's got a song Can't Trust You and then Suburbs, both amazing songs. Can you tell I'm like a pop fan, R&B fan? Anyway, those are my recs. You heard it here first.
What is the worst session that you've ever had?
Oof. For obvious reasons, I can't say the name, but it was probably my first big recording session that I was leading, that I was the first chair recording engineer. You have first chair, second chair, which is the assistant, and then third chair, which is typically like the intern on duty. And she asked us to order food from a restaurant that didn't exist. And she like gave me the food order and she was already in a horrible mood, like such a bad mood. She arrived at the studio in such a bad mood and her A&R was like, oh, she's just hungry. Like we just need to get her food. So she's vegan and she asks us to order from this place that does not exist anymore. It closed. And so I didn't know that. So I take it out to the intern and I'm like, hey, can you order this for us? Like, here's the card, whatever. And he comes back into the studio, which artists are very particular about their space. So already someone coming into the studio again was like, kind of like she was tweaking about it. And he comes up to me and he says like, the place doesn't exist. And so I go back to her and I'm like, are you sure that this is what you wanted? Like, the place is closed. She was like, I don't care, make it happen. So I go back to the intern and I said to him like, hey, can you just try and find a vegan restaurant that has like similar things and just put it in blank containers? Like, we have takeout containers in like the storeroom, like just put it in blank containers and bring it in. Like, she's probably going to know, but it's better than arguing with her. That's what we did. She was in a horrible mood still, even after she ate. And there was still 8 hours left of the recording session. We started 4 songs and didn't finish any of them because she didn't like any of them. And I was just thinking to myself, I really hope I don't cry in the studio. Like, I really do. And I don't say that, like, don't feel bad for me, please. It's fine. Like, this happens all the time. Like, I was a little wet behind the ears in that, like, hadn't experienced just how terrifying artists can be sometimes. But I still have nightmares about that session sometimes. Because, like, it's a horrible feeling, like, feeling as if you couldn't get the job done. And like, sure, the job was something that she had set out that was like kind of impossible, but like still it was.
She literally made you order from a restaurant that doesn't exist. And then when you pointed that out, she said,
was like, I don't care.
Like, what do you do at that point? Like,
no, literally. Like, and at some point you kind of have to know like, okay, there's nothing I can do. And like, you kind of just have to accept that. But it was literally like my first big recording session. I wanted to prove myself because also when you're working in a big recording studio as a recording engineer, like every recording engineer's dream is for someone to like you so much that they want to steal you from the studio. So every session that you go into, you're kind of going in with the hope that like you can make them obsessed with you so that you can like get out of the studio life. Like, that's kind of why people work in studios, is to get noticed. You know what I mean? And so I have since then discovered that I do not want to be a recording engineer, but at the time that's what I thought I wanted to do. And it was tough because, you know, I still support myself. And at the time I was new to LA still, like thinking to myself, I got in such a spiral of like, what if I'm just a bad engineer? Like, what, you know, it is what it is. We all have those experiences. Oh, and I've also cleaned up secretions, bodily fluids of types. That was not fun. Nether region bodily fluids, if you know what I'm saying.
Like on a couch or something?
Yeah. That red couch, man.
The red couch.
That red couch saw things that I really hope no human being ever has to see.
Are there cameras in the studio?
There are cameras.
You're good.
There are cameras in the common areas of the studio, but not in the studios themselves for like privacy reasons because
so that
of
person
NDA
knew.
Reasons. What'd you say?
I'm like, that person knew there was no cameras. Oh, actually,
No,
maybe
they do. No, they do know. They know that when they go in the studio, no one's watching. Like that, and that was the point. That's why they did it in the studio, not the common area. It's like when you rent out a studio at $400 an hour or whatever it is. No, I'm dead serious. Like,
wait, what?
At the first studio that I ever worked at, Studio A, was $295 an hour plus whatever you pay to hire the engineer. Plus, if you're filming, you have to pay a filming fee. And that's not even the most expensive studio in Hollywood.
What?
Like, for some of the big orchestral studios with the big orchestral rooms, you'll pay much more. Much more. Like, it's expensive. It's expensive, which is why when artists get like these huge advances on their label deals of like, oh, here's $100,000 up front to invest in your music, that will go up that quick. It's very easy to spend money in the music industry, believe me.
That's wild. Okay, going off of that, what's the difference between like working with an indie artist versus like one of these artists with a label?
Such a good question.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there are so many misconceptions about what it means to be signed to a label. Hear me clearly. labels have an amazing infrastructure of A&Rs, of people who are going to support the artist, but their primary benefit to the artist is that they're essentially like a glorified bank in some ways. But the primary reason why most artists are chasing a label deal is because when you sign, you get something called an advance. And that's like a big chunk of money that you can use to spend on your music. Some contracts allow you to spend it on other things, but you get this big chunk of money and you use that to invest in your career. And you got to be wise with it because whatever you spend, you have to pay back. So if you don't recoup, which is you don't pay back that money, you're in debt. And so the big difference is that when you're working with labels, sometimes the artists are overseeing the spending of their advance, sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's just the A&Rs, and most of the time labels are more willing to spend big chunks of money. They're more willing to fork out, you know, $295 an hour for a studio, whereas indie artists are working out of their own pocket. They're working out of whatever money they're getting from other sources besides a label. And like the term indie, a lot of people use that to refer to like indie, the genre, and that is, you know, a genre within itself. But the term indie, when it comes to an indie versus a label artist, just means someone who's not signed to a label deal. That's like all that it means.
So with all this being said, you did mention that you realized that you didn't want to be an audio engineer anymore in the music industry. How did you know when to make that pivot? Because now I know you're more focused on like talent management.
Mm-hmm. I'll rephrase. It's not that I didn't want to be an audio engineer, period. It's just that the lifestyle of working as a recording engineer in particular was something that I realized no longer worth compartmentalizing for. Like I spoke about, like it's no longer worth having to put aside my mental health and prioritize my mental and physical health just to go and make not a lot of money. I'll tell you right now, like recording engineers don't make a lot of money and they don't get much glory at all. Like most of the time, and this is something that I wish would change about the music industry. Engineers in particular, sometimes producers, but more engineers, recording engineers, mixing engineers, mastering engineers, don't get any credit. They don't get recognition. And even now, when you have streaming services like Tidal, who do show the full credit list, shout out Tidal, Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon Music, please get your shit together and start showing full credit lists.
I like how you made this gesture when I know what gesture you really wanted to make. Keep going.
It's fine. Like, I when I was working as a recording engineer, I wasn't doing it for the glory. I have always been, since moving to LA, I've always known that like, yes, I do have my own like songwriting project, but I don't want to be the face. I don't want to be at the front of it. Like I've always wanted to be working on the back end, like supporting, helping someone realizing something that they want to do, helping someone realize something that they want to do. And that's fine. But I do think that it is a big issue that there is a huge, huge section of the commercial music industry that we're just ignoring. Engineers work 14, 16-hour sessions straight that they're just expected to stay awake and expected to continue doing a good job. Sometimes those sessions start at 8 p.m. and they go until 2 p.m. the next day. I've been in that situation several times before. And it takes a really specific type of person to want to keep doing that. It's kind of like being a teacher. Like people who want to be teachers and people who are really good teachers have a calling. And I mean, I think it's a very particular type of person, a very special type of person who can do that. Like we need teachers. Shout out teachers. And it wasn't worth it for me at the end to be doing, you know, the overnight lifestyle. I could never plan my life around anything because your career as a recording engineer is contingent on being able to take that unexpected call and being able to drop everything to get to a big session. That's something that I just couldn't handle anymore. Like I've been in LA for about 2 years now and I'm starting to have a real life here. I have a dog, I have friends, I have things that I want to be doing. I want to take care of myself. I want to be able to go to the gym. I want to be able to read. I want to be able to like do things that aren't just focused on whether or not I'm in the studio. And it came to a point where I was living on edge so much because I was always like watching my phone, like, oh, am I going to get a call? To the point where like I couldn't book family holidays because I didn't know if I was going to have to be in LA.
I resonate with all of that so much because being in the entertainment industry myself with circus, and that's honestly not as cutthroat as like a fucking like the fucking music industry or anything, but I experienced that so much where it's like if you're not training, if you're not like on the road with somebody, you're not committed. Like you're not dedicated.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. Period.
There's no questions asked. It's just period. You're not dedicated. If you don't drop your whole life for you, right? If you don't drop your whole life for like your respective industry, for me it was circus, it's entertainment. Like period. You're done. You're not dedicated. Like
exactly.
Why should we like put our like?
Why should we invest in you?
Exactly. Why should we invest in you?
Yeah.
All of that resonated with me so much. And now you're going into the spotlight. You're a singer-songwriter in your own right. The first time I heard your song, Golden Handcuffs, I was like, holy shit.
Subtle plug.
So subtle, you know?
You want to hear a quick story about that song?
Yes.
Going off what we were just talking about like having no boundaries and what it's worth to sacrifice for your job. Golden Handcuffs was born when I was crying on the phone to my mother after having gotten home from my second studio job. At one point, I was working in 2 studios. One as the operations manager and the other one as the, like, also, I guess, an operations manager. And I was also engineering in both studios, and I was working myself to the bone. I was working like 75 or 80 hours a week. And I got home and I was saying to my mom, like, I feel like I'm being held hostage by my own life. And the original meaning of golden handcuffs comes from golden handcuffs traditionally means being held in a place because they're paying you well. I wasn't being paid well in either place, but it was more of a metaphor for me of like, I felt held hostage by my own life because I knew that both of the places that I was working at were setting me up for success in the music industry. And they did, sadly. Like the way that I broke myself working during that time period has gotten my foot in the door, and it's allowed me to be able to keep working in the music industry and support myself through working in the music industry, which is something that, you know, a little girl from Cape Town, South Africa probably would never have like imagined. And so Golden Handcuffs was written about that concept of like, I hate this, but it's doing me good.
Words. Keeping that, like, literally have no words. Wow. That was, oh my God, Tali, that's the meaning behind that song is.
I made some content about it, but you kind of have to like go deep to like find it.
Where can people find you now that let's do a little content plug like in these like next 2 seconds.
You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Amazon Music, YouTube. I don't make YouTube videos yet, but you can find my music on YouTube. I will be making YouTube videos. Stay tuned. At Tali Zaera, TaliZaera on all platforms. You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. Also, another thing that you will hear first is you're releasing another single.
I am. I'm coming out with my second song, which when I wrote Golden Handcuffs, I also wrote Savior. Savior is the next single. And it fits into a bigger storyline of an EP that will be coming out by the end of 2023. And Savior, I think, is one of the most special songs that I've written in the last year, probably. And in the middle, there is a voice memo of me talking, saying like, I don't really care, like maybe I'm going to hell for saying that. And that was part of the conversation that I had with my mom when I wrote Golden Handcuffs, like saying, I don't really, like if I quit, I don't care. Like if I don't make it in the music industry, maybe I'm going to hell for saying that. And I felt so guilty about like feeling as if I cared more about my mental health than I did about a flashy opportunity in LA, which I think is quite quite a thing to think about right now, because I mean, like I said, I maintain the fact that mental health is more important than anything, and I think it's really sad that I was at that point. If we don't laugh, we cry, right?
We're all like crying on the inside, like someone out there is
No.
like crying on the inside. But no, that's toxic.
Bitch, I'm the luckiest girl in the world. Have you seen that thing on TikTok?
Oh, is this a lucky girl mindset?
Syndrome?
Yeah, syndrome. Sorry.
I am the luckiest girl in the world. I manifested my current job, okay? Okay.
You know, but that's actually true. Wait, how did you go? I'm gonna go real quick, like
Okay,
to your origin story, because everyone loves a good origin story. How did you go from little girl in South Africa, Cape Town, right?
Okay.
To LA. Go for it.
Should we do the bullet point version?
Yeah, bullet point version. Let's go.
Bullet point number 1, I was born in Denver, Colorado. Bullet point number 2, my parents decided to move back to South Africa when I was like 2. And I grew up in Cape Town, which is why I have a funny accent. No, I'm not British. No, I'm not Australian. I am South African. Don't ask the question again. Thank you. I'm not a museum exhibit. The amount of times that I introduce myself and people are like, oh my God, where are you from? And then I'm like, oh, I'm from South Africa. And they're like, why are you white? That has actually happened to me. No, I'm not quoting Mean Girls.
Wait, that's okay.
No, actually, seriously. And then they'll be like, oh my God, like, can you say something? Or like, I actually can't. Like, I literally feel like a museum exhibit sometimes. Anyway.
Oh my gosh, you were like literally Lindsay Lohan in that movie.
Sometimes I really wish that people wouldn't ask me where I'm from. And like, I get that it's a good icebreaker and it's a good conversation starter, but sometimes I'm like, I can't do with people like being fascinated by my existence right now. Like, I just actually can't. Anyway, moving swiftly along. So I moved to Cape Town, went to school in Cape Town. I got involved in musical theater as a child. My first speaking role was as the mayor of Munchkinland in The Wizard of Oz. You can find photos on the internet somewhere. Don't look. I don't know why I just said that and then told people not to look. Anyway,
you really shouldn't have said that, because I'm editing this, so there's definitely going to be a photo somewhere like in the middle of us right now of that moment.
I am currently regretting my existence. So I got involved in music for the first time when I was performing in musical theater. I was in several plays throughout the time that I was in primary school. Towards the end of primary school, I got really serious about sport, specifically tennis, and I went on sports scholarship to a very prestigious all-girls high school in Cape Town called Wynberg Girls. And then I dropped out of Wynberg Girls to pursue going pro with tennis, like becoming a professional athlete, and tutored myself through high school through Cambridge International. And then I stopped playing tennis and had hip surgery when I was 16 and didn't go back to playing tennis. So I just like finished high school, tutoring myself through high school. And when I was 17, I was like, I cannot handle living in South Africa anymore. It felt too small for me. I was like, I've got to get out. Obviously, the economy is much weaker there. Like, it's not easy to like make a life for yourself as much as it is here. And I was like, I am getting out of here, applied to 1 million colleges in the United States, and eventually ended up going to Arizona State University. I entered as a neuroscience major, switched a couple times, double majored in communication, dropped out of there again. Love me a good dropout. And it was kind of accidental dropout because I came to LA, got an internship during the summer of 2021 and intended to go back and finish my degree. And then the studio that I was interning at offered me a job and I was like, I have no experience. I don't know why they're offering me a job, but I'm going to take it because no one in their right mind would offer me a job. And I would potentially be turning away like a foot in the door if I went back to go finish my degree, which I can finish at any time. So I have not finished my degree, but I did get a job. And here we are.
Oh my gosh, that took so many different plot twists that I was not expecting. That was, I'm so glad
I know, like, you're kind of mimicking the reaction of a lot of my family. Sorry, mom and dad. I love you guys. Thanks you for supporting my chaos.
But we actually have something in common. I went to an all-girls school as well.
Wait, really?
Yeah, like
Did you
legitimately.
I didn't know
I
that.
went to an all-girls Catholic high school in Orange County. Like legit, like all-girls school.
So let's unpack that.
So let's unpack all of your trauma. Like
My uniform was shit brown.
yours was shit brown?
Insert photo here. I will find one.
Okay. We can compare photos. Mine actually,
We should.
honestly, mine was pretty cute. It was like a blue and like gold, like plaid little tiny skirt sort of deal.
Relate. Cannot relate. Also, at that point in my life, I thought it was really cute to like pull my hair back all the way so I looked like an egg. It wasn't my finest era. It's okay though. It's fine.
But you know what? I feel like every era was iconic for you, and this era is
You know what? I'll take it.
yeah. So okay, we're gonna do a little manifesting here.
Okay.
What do you hope for your future? What are you manifesting? What's coming to you?
Wealth in all senses of the word, not just financial. Abundance of happiness, of healthy relationships, of travel, of giving, of involvement in other people's growth journeys, and ease. Honestly, everything happens with ease. I don't want to feel like I'm fighting or resisting or having to force anything. Like at this period in my life, I'm feeling like I'm settling into a flow, into a rhythm of things. And I'd like to continue manifesting that sort of gentleness of everything just happening the way that it should. And also working on myself so that I don't hyperfixate on things that I don't need to be hyperfixating on.
Yo, I felt that on so many levels.
Yeah, I would say ease is probably the best way to sum that up.
I love that. And I'm actually going to take that and use it for myself because
Okay.
you've just inspired me.
Dick.
And you do know you're going to come back on, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Next time I'm on, I'm going to interview you.
Fuck.
Period.
You're going to ask me all these questions and be like, I don't know.
No, I will be interviewing you because like you're such an interesting human being, and like it is very sad to me that I can't just listen to podcasts about you like perpetually. Like you have such an interesting life story. Stay tuned for an episode interviewing Noeli, please.
If I let her. No, I'm just kidding.
If I let her.
I'm just kidding. No. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay, deal. Wait, we have to like pinky promise. Okay, you can do a podcast episode with me interviewing me.
Okay.
Deal.
It's on rec.
It's yeah.
It's on record.
Yeah, on record.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Thank you so much for being on Meet Me in the Back. It's honestly
so
a privilege and an honor to interview you. And
It was
thanks
so
for
fun.
being my friend. And thank you for everything, really.
I
So,
love you.
Thank you. I love you. And thanks for listening, everybody. Okay, bye.
Bye.